Japan lives better on half the budget of the average American. And it's not because they earn more, it's because they're playing a completely different game. While the US to par, I hope defines below. Household now spends over $72,000 a year just to exist. Japanese families operate comfortably on the equivalent of $34,000, $38,000, and they still eat better, waste less, live longer, and report higher satisfaction with daily life. And here's the kicker. Japan's average lifespan is 6 years longer. Their obesity rate is 10x lower, and their public transportation is so efficient that owning a car is optional, not a financial death sentence. You're about to see exactly how they do it, not with sacrifice, not with deprivation, but with systems, habits, and cultural hacks that quietly eliminate thousands of dollars of waste every single year. And once you understand these strategies, you'll realize something uncomfortable. Japan isn't richer. They're smarter with the money they already have. They treat waste like a luxury they can't afford. When you really look at how everyday life works in Japan, one of the biggest shocks, especially for Americans, is how aggressively they eliminate waste from their daily routines. And I'm not just talking about recycling a few cans or flattening cardboard boxes. I mean a national mindset where throwing things away is practically treated as a failure of planning. This cultural approach alone cuts household expenses by thousands of dollars a year, and most people outside Japan have no idea how deep this goes. For example, Japan recycles over 84% of its plastic bottles, one of the highest rates on Earth. But even that number doesn't paint the full picture. People wash, sort, categorize, and repurpose items long before they ever think of discarding them. A single glass jar might live multiple lives, first as a food container, then as a spice holder, and eventually as a screws and nails organizer. And if you think that's extreme, some prefectures require residents to separate trash into as many as 45 categories. Yes, 45. And while outsiders think that sounds exhausting, Japanese people see it as a game of efficiency. When you're forced to categorize every piece of trash, you naturally become hyper-aware of what you bring home. That awareness cuts down impulse buys, reduces packaging waste, and pushes households to choose products that last longer. And this isn't just about being eco-friendly. It's about minimizing financial leakage. Food waste is another massive category where Japan outperforms almost everyone. The average American household throws away 31% of the food they buy. That's basically lighting $1,500 a year on fire. Japan approaches food like a precision operation. They buy fresh items in small quantities, cook exact portions, use leftovers creatively, and follow the idea that food is a gift, not a disposable item. Even convenience stores restock 3 times a day, so customers only buy what they need in the moment. When you treat waste as a cost you can control, everything changes. You stop overbuying, stop hoarding, and start thinking like a strategist instead of a consumer. And that's the Japanese advantage. They don't just save money by being frugal. They save money by eliminating the invisible costs we take for granted, the unnecessary trash, the spoiled food, the forgotten items in the back of a closet. That mindset alone is worth thousands a year. 9. They engineer daily life around micro-savings that add up fast. A huge part of why Japanese people stretch their budgets so effectively is because they've mastered something I like to call micro-savings engineering. These are tiny habits that individually don't seem like much, but together create a financial snowball effect, powerful enough to reshape an entire lifestyle. And the wild part, most people outside Japan overlook these completely because they seem too small to matter. But when you do the math, oh, they matter. For example, the average Japanese household uses about half the electricity of an American household, not because they live in the dark or avoid modern comforts, but because every appliance, every bulb, every routine is optimized for efficiency. Lights are left on only in occupied rooms. Hot water is heated on demand instead of stored. Toilets use clever two-stage flushing systems to minimize water usage. And here's something most people don't know. Japanese homes often have a tiny button on the wall that lets you reheat bathwater without draining and refilling the tub. A genius little feature that can cut water bills dramatically. Even the simple habit of turning off the toilet's heated seat in the summer can save a family thousands of yen each year. Public transportation plays a massive role too. The average Japanese worker spends $100, $150 a month less on transportation compared to Americans because trains are predictable, cheap, and everywhere. Many people don't own cars at all, avoiding insurance, gas, loan payments, parking fees, and maintenance. Even umbrella design fits the micro-savings mindset. Reusable, transparent umbrellas cost about $4, and last year's, instead of buying $20 ones, season after season. The result? Japan's cost of living may seem high from the outside, but their everyday routines carve out so many financial leaks that households naturally operate at a much lower burn rate. You don't feel like you're sacrificing anything, you just feel efficient. And those micro-savings, they become macro-freedom. 8. They use community infrastructure instead of paying for private convenience. One thing people seriously underestimate about Japan is how much money the average household saves simply by relying on public and community infrastructure instead of private alternatives. And I'm not just talking about taking the subway instead of driving. I mean a full ecosystem where cities are designed to reduce personal expenses. For example, Japan's public libraries don't just offer books. They have free study rooms, music practice spaces, air-conditioned lounge seating, and even free access to newspapers, magazines, and paid research databases. If you lived in the US, you'd need 4 separate subscriptions to replace what a Japanese library gives you for free. Parks are another huge cost saver. Instead of expensive gyms or paid recreational programs, neighborhoods include meticulously maintained parks with workout stations, walking loops, children's areas, community gardens, and public rest areas. Even seniors use them for daily stretches and socializing, saving money on health clubs while maintaining mental and physical wellness. Many communities even offer free or extremely cheap classes in cooking, sewing, fitness, and language learning, taught by local volunteers or retirees. And here's something most foreigners are shocked by. Japan's laundromats are so efficient and affordable that many people avoid buying dryers altogether. Using a laundromat dryer costs about $1, $2 a load, compared to owning a dryer that adds hundreds to a yearly electricity bill. And let's not forget public baths, sento and onsen. Instead of paying for high water bills, heating costs, and massive tubs at home, many people enjoy spa-level bathing for just a few dollars. It's cheaper, more relaxing, and socially enriching. The big secret is that Japan's society is structured so individuals don't need to replicate everything privately. You don't need your own gym. If there's a park workout route, You don't need your own full office when the library has free desks. You don't need a giant kitchen if the community center offers cooking classes. Japan saves money collectively, which means individuals automatically save money personally. It's community-powered budgeting, and it works. 7. They prioritize quality over quantity, and it actually saves money. Something that completely flips Western consumer logic on its head is how Japanese people approach quality. While many countries buy cheap products and replace them constantly, Japan leans heavily toward buying higher quality items that last longer, cost less over time, and carry a sense of pride and responsibility. This isn't minimalism. It's financial strategy. The average Japanese household spends more upfront on essentials like kitchen knives, clothing, shoes, bedding, and home tools, but because these items are built to last, they're replaced far less often. Data shows that Japanese families buy 40–50% fewer clothing items per year than Americans, not because they dress plainly, but because well-made clothing simply lasts longer. When you buy quality, you buy less. That philosophy ties directly into the concept of mato-nai, a cultural belief that wasting resources is almost morally wrong. It encourages people not just to buy better items, but to maintain them carefully. Shoes get repaired instead of tossed. Jackets get restitched. Appliances are cleaned regularly to extend their lifespan. And this maintenance mindset secretly saves thousands. Even Japanese knives are designed for decades of use, with proper sharpening. Meanwhile, Americans spend nearly $2,000 a year replacing cheap, low-quality home goods that break or wear out. Here's another angle most people don't know. Japan has a massive second-hand ecosystem where high-quality items retain value. Stores like Book Off, Hard Off, Mode Off, and Mercari resell everything from electronics to clothing at 70–90% off retail, and the items often look brand new because they've been so well maintained. Japan's loyalty to quality shrinks long-term expenses, boosts resale value, reduces waste, and keeps clutter low. It's not about buying luxury, it's about buying intelligently. And when you build a life around durable things, your budget stops bleeding from constant replacements. Quality isn't a splurge in Japan, it's a money-saving tactic disguised as craftsmanship. 6. They master the art of eating well. Without overspending, something people completely misunderstand about Japan is how they manage to eat incredibly well. Fresh fish, seasonal produce, high-quality meals, while still spending significantly less than most Western households. And no, it's not because everything is magically cheaper. It's because the way they approach food stretches every yen like it has elastic built into it. Let's start with the fact that Japan wastes 40% less food per household than the US, and that alone is like putting an extra $1,000 back into your wallet every year. They buy smaller portions more frequently, which sounds counterintuitive until you realize it keeps food fresher, reduces spoilage, and prevents the weekly clean out the fridge and feel guilty moment most people are used to. Another major factor is seasonal eating. Japanese consumers follow the shun concept, eating foods at their natural seasonal peak when they're cheapest and most flavorful. You're not buying strawberries in December or paying triple for vegetables that traveled 5,000 miles. Instead, you're leaning into what the land naturally provides, which keeps grocery costs stable year-round. One hidden trick most people never hear about is Japan's obsession with prepared meals from supermarkets. We're not talking greasy takeout. We're talking gourmet quality bento boxes, fresh grilled fish, perfectly portioned vegetables, and miso soups that cost under $5. It's so efficient that many families completely eliminate the cost of restaurants and even reduce electricity use at home by cooking less during the work week. And here's where Japan pulls even further ahead. Nearly every grocery store slashes prices 30–50% in the final hours before closing. Shoppers time their visits to scoop up discounted meals, fresh produce, and premium meats at a fraction of the cost. It's not thriftiness. It's strategy. Combine all this with small refrigerators that naturally discourage overbuying, and suddenly you're looking at a food system that's lean, efficient, and financially sharp. They eat better, fresher, and smarter, and it costs them less because the entire culture is designed to eliminate waste, maximize flavor, and stretch resources. In Japan, food isn't just nourishment. It's a budgeting superpower disguised as everyday life. 5. They avoid the hidden money trap. Owning a car. If you really want to understand how Japanese households manage to cut their living expenses in half, just look at their relationship with cars, or more accurately, their avoidance of them. In the US, owning a car costs the average person $12,000 per year. Once you factor in insurance, maintenance, gas, registration, loan payments, and the occasional surprise repairs that always seem to hit at the worst possible time. But in Japan, millions of people skip car ownership entirely. Not because they can't afford one, but because the savings from not owning a car are simply too massive to ignore. Instead, they rely on the world's most efficient transportation network. Trains run so precisely that if a train is 60 seconds late, the company apologizes. You've got subways, local trains, high-speed Shinkansen, buses, shared bicycles, and even neighborhood microbuses that cost pocket change to ride. And unlike many countries, Japan's transit doesn't punish you for being frugal. It rewards you. Monthly commuter passes often cover unlimited rides between designated zones, which can drop transportation costs to $50, $100 a month, compared to the U.S. average of $300, $600 even before counting car payments. Parking in major cities like Tokyo can cost hundreds of dollars a month, so avoiding a car eliminates that entire category of expense. And rural areas? They have K-cars, ultra-efficient, tax-reduced micro-vehicles that cost pennies to operate. Even with a car, they spend 40–60% less on fuel because Japanese vehicles are generally smaller, lighter, and more fuel-efficient. Maintenance costs are lower too, because cultural norms encourage regular inspections and early repairs, which prevent catastrophic breakdowns. But here's the kicker. Not owning a car frees up disposable income for things that actually improve quality of life. Travel, savings, hobbies, healthier food, better experiences. You're not chained to a machine you barely use for 95% of its life. Japan proves that mobility doesn't have to drain your bank account. When transportation is public, efficient, and convenient, your wallet becomes private, protected, and happy. 4. They turn small living spaces into high-functioning money-saving machines. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Japanese life is the size of their homes. People often think, well, they live in tiny apartments because they have no choice. But here's the truth. Those smaller spaces are financial weapons, purpose-built, optimized, and engineered to eliminate unnecessary expenses. When you have a smaller home, you immediately slash your rent or mortgage by thousands of dollars a year. But Japan goes way beyond that. Their homes are designed with space-saving technology that boosts functionality without increasing square footage. Think sliding doors instead of swinging ones, so no space gets wasted. Think multi-purpose furniture like kotatsu tables that serve as dining tables, desks, and heating sources, cutting winter heating costs by 20–30%. And yes, that's a real statistic. Home organization is another massive advantage because clutter simply has nowhere to hide. People buy less, maintain more, and spend intentionally. Built-in storage, raised floors with hidden compartments, and modular shelving mean every object has a home, and anything extra sticks out instantly, which stops over-shopping dead in its tracks. But the secret genius is how Japanese homes reduce ongoing expenses. Smaller spaces require less air conditioning, less heating, less lighting, and far fewer repairs. A leaky faucet in the US might waste 3,000 gallons of water a year. But Japanese fixtures are engineered with efficiency-first design that minimizes waste long before it becomes a bill-increasing problem. Even cleaning becomes cheaper because it's faster. A full house cleaning session might take under an hour. No expensive tools, no heavy-duty chemicals, no weekend lost to scrubbing. And here's something most people never realize. Small homes encourage outdoor living. Parks, cafes, community centers, libraries, and public baths become extensions of your living room. You get social connection, fresh air, amenities, and mental clarity without paying for extra square footage. In Japan, the home isn't the center of consumption. It's the center of efficiency. You're not shrinking your life. You're shrinking your expenses while expanding your freedom. 3. They build their entire lifestyle around preventing the little expenses that destroy wealth. If there's one thing Japan has mastered that most countries don't even think about, it's preventing financial leakage at the micro level. See, most people worry about big expenses, rent, groceries, insurance, but they completely ignore the small, silent costs that drain hundreds of dollars a month without anyone noticing. Japan attacks these microscopic expenses with a level of precision that borders on scientific, and this alone is why their households run so efficiently. Let me show you what I mean. In Japan, convenience stores are actually convenient, but they're not designed to trap you into overspending. Prices are stable, portions are sensible, and impulse buy temptations are surprisingly limited compared to American stores that hit you with sugary aisles, clearance bins, and neon limited-time-only signs designed to hijack your wallet. And here's something nobody talks about. Japanese packaging is intentionally small. Why? Because it eliminates the psychological trick of buying more than you need. If you only buy what you'll truly use this week, you're not throwing away stale bread, expired snacks, or half-empty bottles of condiments. Japan's average household food waste is less than half that of the US. And food waste isn't just trash, it's money set on fire. Another overlooked factor is subscription creep. Japan's culture doesn't obsess over piling on monthly memberships the way America does. There's no expectation to belong to 15 streaming services, a gym, a meditation app, 3 newsletters, and a monthly box subscription that delivers socks you didn't ask for. Japanese consumers rarely fall into subscription traps because they have a national habit of tracking bills, revisiting expenses, and staying brutally aware of household budgets. The average American has 12 recurring subscriptions and doesn't even know the total cost. The average Japanese household has a fraction of that, and they actually use what they pay for. Even household habits are engineered for thrift. turning off lights, unplugging unused appliances, air drying clothes, closing doors to retain heat. These aren't conscious budgeting hacks. They're automatic cultural reflexes. All those micro behaviors add up to real money. Japan proves that you don't need a huge salary to live comfortably. You just need to stop letting your money evaporate through 1,000 tiny cracks. 2. They prioritize health like it's a financial investment. Because it is. Here's a truth most people never connect. A healthy population spends less money. Japan understands this better than almost any nation on earth. When you look at how they live, the walking culture, the balanced meals, the moderate portions, the community engagement, it becomes obvious that their health habits aren't just cultural traditions. They're financial strategies that save families from the crushing medical costs that people in other countries face. Because when you prevent health problems before they start, you prevent the massive bills that come with them. Japan has the longest life expectancy in the world. And while genetics play a part, lifestyle is the real driver. Think about this. The average Japanese adult walks 6,000, 8,000 steps per day, simply by commuting and going about daily life. That's built-in exercise that requires no gym membership, no personal trainer, and no expensive supplements. Walking isn't just healthy, it's free. Their diet also naturally reduces medical expenses. High vegetable intake, fermented foods, green tea, low sugar consumption, and portion control significantly cut the risks of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Japan's obesity rate is around 4%, while the US is nearing 43%. That difference translates directly into billions of dollars saved on healthcare. Even stress management plays a major role. Japan's culture embraces baths, saunas, public hot springs, and slow communal eating. Stress reduction isn't a luxury, it's built into daily routines. Lower stress means better sleep, better digestion, and fewer chronic illnesses. And here's the financial kicker. Japan requires regular health checkups through schools and workplaces. Preventive care is the norm, meaning problems are caught early when they're cheap to fix, not late when they require surgery or lifelong treatment. While Americans frequently avoid the doctor because they're afraid of the bill, Japanese workers often get screenings for free through their employer. Staying healthy isn't just good for the body, it keeps your budget from collapsing under medical debt. Japan doesn't just save money today. They save money 10, 20, 40 years from now because they treat health as a long-term investment instead of an emergency expense. 1. They design their entire society around living with less, without feeling poor. This is the biggest, most powerful reason Japanese people live better on half the budget. Their entire society is intentionally designed so people don't need excess to feel satisfied. Everything from public transportation to store layouts to city planning to home design supports a lifestyle where you can live simply, comfortably, and affordably without ever feeling deprived. Let's break this down. Japan's cities are walkable, dense, and efficient. You don't need a car, you don't need massive storage space, and you don't need to buy a ton of stuff to compensate for boredom or isolation. Entertainment is everywhere. Parks, shrines, shopping arcades, street festivals, cafes, public baths, most of them either free or extremely cheap. Even socializing costs less, because Japan offers countless low-cost or zero-cost activities. You're not pressured into spending $60 every time you meet a friend. You can grab a $3 convenience store coffee, Walk around the park, visit a shrine, or wander through a bookstore. The experience, not the price tag, is the value. Retail culture supports this too. Stores don't push oversized packaging, bulk buying, or buy more, save more gimmicks that trap you into overspending. Instead, they sell compact, high-quality items in reasonable quantities that fit small homes and modest budgets. And here's something Americans never think about. Japan has almost no culture of keeping up with the Joneses. Showing wealth is not socially rewarded. Humility is. So people don't burn their money chasing status symbols. They don't even want. Japan's entire environment quietly encourages moderation, efficiency, and mindfulness. You're not fighting against marketing manipulation, oversized homes, or pressure to consume. You're supported by systems that make simple living feel normal and enjoyable. That's the real secret. In Japan, you don't have to resist temptation. The temptation simply isn't engineered into everyday life. The default setting is affordable living, and when a country's default setting supports your financial goals, wealth builds effortlessly. That's how Japanese people live better. Not by earning more, but by needing less without feeling like they're missing out.